Well, good day, everyone. And here we are on the last day, if you can believe it, of April already, April 30th. And this is Doug Fagan, your volunteer reader, coming to you today, as always, from the studios of the Audible Local Ledger here in cloudy and overcast but mild Mashpee, Massachusetts. Well, in Cape Cod Times edition today, let's begin with the weather locally and for the Cape and Islands. So today, around the Cape, we're going to have a high of 52 degrees today, and it's going to be cloudy and cooler with a lot of clouds. Tonight, there may be some showers in spots, and it's going to get down to only 46, which is not bad. Now, Wednesday, there's going to be a couple showers in the morning, and a high of only 51 degrees, which is far different from what we had a couple days ago. So it will be a high of 51 on Wednesday and a low of 42 with, as I said, some scattered showers in the morning. Moving out to Thursday and Friday, it looks like mostly sun, times of clouds and sun, with a majority of time towards sun, with temperatures in the mid-50s at 54 on Thursday and 55 on Friday. Saturday's the same thing, a high of 55 degrees and a low of 43 overnight. Again, partly cloudy, partly sunny. So kind of a mixed bag from here on out on the Cape and the South Shore for the rest of the week. Now, you're thinking about swimming out in the ocean? Better think again. 47 degrees is the water temperature in Cape Cod Bay. Still too cold, if you ask me. Wave heights modest, 1 to 3 feet. Wind direction east, 7 to 14 knots. Now, what about swimming in Nantucket? Well, in the Sound out on Nantucket, 52 degrees, so it's about 5 degrees warmer out on Nantucket Sound, which is typical. Wave heights 1 to 3 feet again, very moderate. Wind direction east at 7 to 14 knots. Looking at temperatures around the Cape, they are today, as they usually are, very consistent. On the west side of the canal, Wareham, 55, Buzzards Bay, 54. Coming across the bridge into Sandwich and Bourne, we have 53 degrees there, 53 in Falmouth. Mashpee, as I said, is supposed to be a high of 52 today. Same with Barnstable, Hyannis, Dennis, Chatham, Brewster, Eastham, all 52 degrees. Little cooler out of Provincetown and Truro, 49 and 50 degrees as a high, respectively, at Provincetown and Truro. Now, moving out to the islands, out there on Martha's Vineyard, out at Oak Bluffs and Edgartown, you're going to have a high of 53 degrees today with a low of overnight of 48. Again, mostly cloudy today. Out on Nantucket, a little bit further out there in the Sound, 52 at Nantucket Village and 50 at Secaucet. Again, cloudy and overcast. So not the best of weeks as we head into early May, this being the last day of April. So let's hope that once we get past this first week, we have some really nice weather coming in. All right, that's it, friends, for today's weather. Let's now move to the front page and see what we have locally and regionally in that area for today's Tuesday, April 30th edition of the Cape Cod Times. Well, here on the front page, we have what looks to be an interesting article accompanied by a picture of a lighthouse, and it happens to be the historic Highland Light in Truro, and the article is about the light reopening to the public after renovations. And a second picture, highlighting the very top of the light, says that the Highland Light in North Truro was moved 450 feet back from the eroding bluff back in the year 1996. The article is headlined, Historic Lighthouse Reopens to the Public After Renovations. It's by Eric Williams of the Cape Cod Times staff. And here's the article. Highland Light in Truro is looking pretty spiffy these days. According to the Cape Cod National Seashore, the legendary lighthouse has a new breathable coating and masonry has been repaired, part of the very recent renovation project that will be celebrated at a rededication ceremony at 10 in the morning on May 3rd. The renovation project was launched after a National Park Service historic architecture team determined that a ventilation issue was accelerating deterioration of the structure, including exterior cracks and corrosion. The ventilation issue stemmed from the application of a cement-like material to fill in air spaces and stabilize the lighthouse during its move back from the eroding cliff in 1996, according to the Seashore Information Agency. This cement filling, along with non-breathable coatings applied to the lighthouse over the years, did reduce venting and allowed excessive moisture to build up inside the structure. With the Highland Lights seasonal tours also set to launch on May 3rd, we thought we'd take a look at the popular beacon's history. So when was the Highland Light actually built? Well, according to the Highland Light website, which is highlandlighthouse.org, there have been 3 towers at the Highland Light site over the years. The first version, a 45-foot-tall wooden tower, was established in, get this folks, way back in 1797. Then in 1831, a new brick lighthouse was built. That 66-foot-tall tower that we see today was built in 1857, along with a keeper's house and a generator shed. So why was the Highland Light moved? Well, Highland Light was once located at a comfortable distance from the Atlantic-facing cliffs. However, erosion kept carving away at the margin. According to the National Park Service, erosion of the steep cliff throughout the years brought the Pleasant Light Station around 100 feet from the cliff's edge by the 1990s. The Truro Historical Society raised funds to move the lighthouse, buoyed by federal and state grants. In 1996, the lighthouse was moved 450 feet inland, according to the National Park Service. So here's how the Truro Historical Society described the moving operation. Using hydraulic jacks, the entire structure was lifted, mounted on rollers, and set on rails. Thousands of visitors gathered to watch the move when it took place over 18 days. During the move, workers placed quarters on the beams. The whole process went so slowly that you could only tell that the lighthouse was moving by watching the various coins that had been placed on the rails. So, have any celebrities actually stayed at Highland Light? Well, if you're interested in that, literary superstar Henry David Thoreau stayed at Highland Light twice while visiting the Cape and wrote about the experience in his book entitled Cape Cod, according to Cape Cod National Seashore historian William Burke. It seems like Thoreau took full advantage of his unusual lodgings, according to this passage from Cape Cod, which says, quote, "As we were going to spend the night in a lighthouse, we wished to make the most of so novel an experience, and therefore told our host that we'd like to accompany him when he went to light up. At rather early candlelight, he lighted a small Japan lamp, allowing it to smoke rather more than we'd like on ordinary occasions, and told us to follow him." So how can I tour the Highland Light? Well, tours will run daily from 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon from May 3rd through October 31st. The last tour of the day starts at 4:30. In addition to the tour, the Highland Light Keeper's Shop offers an assortment of interesting items for sale. There is a tour charge, however, $8 for adults, $5 for students, and $7 for seniors and members of the military. Children must be at least 48 inches to tour and climb the lighthouse because of the stairs and ladders. For more information, you can find out about the Highland Light by going to the Highland Light website. All right, friends, there you have it. Should be kind of interesting. The fact that the renovations at the Highland Light in Truro have reopened after restorations. And again, those tours are daily from 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. All right, let's move on. We find another article of local interest here on page 1 of today's Tuesday, April 30th, Cape Cod Times. And the title of this article is Greenhouse and Pool in School Plans for the Golf Course. This is by Zane Razak of the Cape Cod Times staff, and here is the article. A private East Sandwich school for students with disabilities wants to establish a faculty housing program as part of the project it will build on the 40-acre Twin Brooks Golf Course on Scudder Avenue in Hyannis. Faculty housing is part of the vision, said Riverview's head of school, Stuart Miller, in an email to the Times. But, as he said, we are exploring multiple options and are not yet sure what degree or to what scope this housing will be located on this property. In a video posted on the school website, Miller said many people want to work for Riverview but have had to turn down job offers because they really can't afford to relocate to the Cape. Also, current employees cannot afford to buy their own home or condo. We know our program is only as good as the people who deliver it, said Miller. Cape Cod is facing, as we all know, a significant challenge in providing affordable housing and attainable housing for current and future residents, according to the Cape Cod Commission. This shortage affects those seeking housing, but also the regional economy when employers may struggle to find employees locally who can't really find housing. So when did Riverview actually purchase the golf course? Well, the school purchased the golf course earlier this month for $9.8 million, according to a deed filed at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. The school received its largest philanthropic donation from an anonymous donor that allowed it to actually purchase the land. Riverview will need to raise funds separately for the housing project. The nonprofit educational boarding and day school serves students from ages 11 to 21 who have learning challenges such as autism, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Riverview's purchase stopped a proposal by the developer Quarterra, that's Quarterra, to turn the golf course into a 312-unit housing complex. The school had been searching for land for almost 2 years and will mainly use the property to expand its offerings to students beyond 22 years of age in a program to be called Friends Forever. So, suddenly, without the community, leads us into our next paragraph. Families find a safe harbor at Riverview. Students develop passions, have a sense of belonging, and lots of friends. And then they graduate. At age 22, they are suddenly without the community they have belonged to for years, and they need to find a new one. This will no longer be the case, said Miller in the school's video. The school is still in the early planning stages, but it is imagining a campus for Riverview students with programs like studio arts, spaces for co-curricular activities, a swimming pool, a garden and greenhouse, and a kitchen for food prep, nutrition, and cooking classes, said Mr. Miller. One of the primary questions received is if there will be housing, Miller said. Well, the school is exploring multiple exciting opportunities on this front, but it's far too soon to share any specifics, he said. School officials also believe it could take about 1.5 years before they can actually break ground on the property for any of their projects. So the search for Leadership for Friends program Forever is underway. Riverview is searching for an executive director of the program and will reach out to alumni families, and other stakeholders for suggestions as they develop the program. A survey will be sent out to the school community in coming weeks asking for feedback concerning the new program suggestions. Founded in 1957, Riverview has an East Sandwich campus on Route 6A that contains a cafe and a thrift store intended to allow students to work and to interact with the community, as well as a couple of dormitories off campus. All combined, it takes about and totals about 20 acres. Miller had previously given this information to the Times. So there you have it, folks. The East Sandwich School, Riverview, and their purchase of the former Twin Brooks Golf Course property and what they intend to do with it over time. All right, let's move on. Staying on page 1 of today's Tuesday, the 30th of April, Cape Cod Times, this next article says a bill would ban weaponization of robotic creations. This is adapted from the Worcester Telegram and Gazette. It has a dateline of Boston, and here is the article. It was a special, quote, dog, end quote, that captured the attention of legislators, state workers, and even tourists at the Massachusetts State House on this past Thursday. It responded to commands such as stay, go, and even down. But the commands were sent electronically through a joystick, and the dog, so to speak, dubbed Spot, was actually robotic. A flame-throwing robotic dog like the Terminator for sale to the general public for $9,500, it is not. The robot dog, created by Boston Dynamics, was at the State House to encourage legislators to support a bill that would prohibit the weaponization of robots. Sponsored by Senator Michael Moore, a Democrat from Millbury, and Representative Lindsay Sabadosa, a Democrat from Northampton, the bill advocates for the responsible, ethical, and safe use of advanced robotic technology. Among other things, the bill would make it illegal for anyone, including a law enforcement agent, to manufacture, modify, sell, transfer, or to operate a robotic device or drone that is equipped with a weapon, or to use such a device to physically restrain a person. We do have an ethics policy, said David Robert, Director of Human/Robot Interaction for Boston Dynamics, the maker of the dog Spot. We are creating robots to be friendly and useful, not to harm or to hurt people or animals. The Boston Dynamics device has been sold in 40 different countries. Its primary use is to replace humans in tedious or dangerous tasks, such as disposing of explosive or suspected explosive devices. We can send in the robot to places that are far too dangerous for humans, Roberts said. A Canadian power plant purchased a Spot, that is the so-called name to reference this robotic dog, to throw a switch that would arc every time it was engaged. Workers were too uncomfortable to accomplish the task, so the company called in Spot. Spot can help keep humans out of harm's way. The New York City Fire Department has one, dubbed Berg, after the founder of the ASPCA, and it is painted to look like a Dalmatian. The device is teachable, Robert said, explaining that a Spot can be taught or programmed to perform tasks without human supervision. It can record a route or a sequence of events and perform those without supervision as well. The robot is doing the work automatically, but with the ability to have a human override its program, said Robert. Transparency is part of the company's philosophy. The device is not encased in a furry substance, does not have a head or a tail, and doesn't even really look like a dog. That's on purpose, Robert said, explaining that the company's aim is to create a public trust with robotic devices in anticipation of them being in people's homes in the near future. Hannah Rossi, a field application specialist, was at the controls Tuesday demonstrating the various moves that the spot can actually do. The spot at the State House was fitted with a retractable lever that functions similar to a hand. Other devices that can be attached, including mapping tools, cameras, and at the shop employees have created a margarita mixer attachment as well. That's the fun part, Robert said. All right, there you have it. The company, Boston Robotics, giving an example of how this special dog called Spot rotates in a demonstration at the State House. All right, now we're moving on. We're now looking at page 3 of the Cape Cod Times paper for today, the Cape and Islands section. And here's an article of local interest. It's entitled, Stairs Down to Marconi Beach Are Closed Through May 23rd. This is by Eric Williams of the Cape Cod Times staff. Here's the article. You won't be able to take the stairs down to Marconi Beach in South Wellfleet until just before Memorial Day. The Cape Cod National Seashore is replacing the beach access staircase, a project slated to run from today, April 30th, through May 23rd. During the stair replacement project, the gate to Marconi Beach Road will be closed. The roughly 1.4-mile road runs from just off Route 6 to the beach parking lot. Access to the nearby Marconi Station site, Overlook, and the Atlantic White Cedar Swamp Trail will, however, remain open to vehicles. Marconi Beach is still reachable by foot along the back shore, but it will be a considerable walk. The nearest beach access points with parking lots for such a journey would be McGuire Landing at LeConte Hollow in Wellfleet and Nauset Light Beach in Northeast Ham. Either access point would require a more than 2-mile one-way walk to reach Marconi Beach. And the walk from Nauset Light Beach can be particularly tricky around high tide when the ocean can reach the backing sand cliff. Marconi Beach is very popular with visitors who enjoy the natural setting and sometimes the significant surf conditions. The water temperatures tend to be colder than Cape beaches on Nantucket Sound and on Cape Cod Bay. The large parking lot holds roughly 500 spaces for cars, which can be helpful for folks looking to gain beach access during the busy summer seasons. Restrooms and bathhouses are open during the warmer months. So, if you're thinking about visiting Marconi Beach, be reminded that that is closed from today, April 30th, through May 23rd for the replacement of the stairs from the parking lot to the beach. Looks like you'll have to find alternative areas. This next article on the Cape and Islands page references East Ham. It says East Ham taxpayers face tax increases or municipal service cuts. This is by Denise Coffey of the Cape Cod Times staff. And here's the article. East Ham's fiscal 2025 budget of $44,180,055 will be put before voters on May 6th at town meeting, whose warrant is light on articles, only 8 at this point, but heavy on override requests. The operating budget, which is Article 2A, requires a Proposition 2.5 override of $1,020,000 because of increases in the forecasted school budget, student enrollment, and special education costs, according to the Nauset Regional School Committee Chairman Chris Easley. About $600,000 of that just over $1 million amount can be attributed to enrollment increases, and $335,000 is due to specific special education costs. To fund increases, an override request will be on the town election ballot. Should the override not pass, the town's municipal budget will have to be cut by the $1,020,000 amount. If the article and ballot questions pass tax rates would increase by about 20 cents or $150 overall per year on a median home valued at $747,000. Article 2D calls for $300,000 and another Proposition 2.5 override to fund the hiring of 2 additional police officers. It would be the first police department staffing increase in 30 years. Should the override and ballot question pass, the tax rate would increase an additional 6 cents and result in an increase in property taxes of about $44 for the median valued home per year. Eastham's proposal would then limit ownership of short-term rentals. 2 articles proposing zoning bylaw changes are being introduced as a means of protecting the town's year-round housing stock. Article 5B proposes limiting the number of short-term rentals owned by one property owner to 2 units. Those who already have certificates for more than 2 units can keep them until the property changes ownerships or the certificates expire. Article 7A would prohibit timeshare, interval, and fractional ownership of properties. Community preservation articles would fund a Brewster housing project, upgrades to Finch Skate Park, and Eastham Elementary School's playground. An addition at the Old Schoolhouse Museum, extension of the Sandy Meadow ADA accessible trail, and the historic preservation of a structure on Massasoit Road. The Finance Committee voted to recommend approval on all the warrant articles, though not all approvals were unanimous. So, for those of you who may not be aware of a town meeting, what actually is a town meeting? Well, a town meeting, which most of us know, is both an event and an entity according to the Secretary of the Commonwealth's website. As an event, it is a gathering of the town's eligible voters and is referred to as the town meeting. As an entity, it is the legislative body for towns in Massachusetts and is referenced as simply being town meeting. 13 of the 15 Cape Cod towns, including Eastham, have open town meetings, meaning all voters who live in that town may vote on all matters. So where is the town meeting? Well, Eastham's town meeting will be at 10 a.m. at the Nauset Regional High School athletic field, which is located at 100 Cable Road. Again, the Eastham Town Meeting, 10 a.m. at the Nauset Regional High School athletic field. So where can you find the warrants? For warrant information, go to the Town Meeting Eastham MA site at easthamma, all lowercase, .gov. Again, easthamma.gov. All right, that's an article referencing the Eastham budget and the items on the docket for the May 6th town meeting at the regional high school. Well, friends, we've reached nearly the halfway point of today's broadcast of the April 30th Cape Cod Times. And for those of you who follow us, you know that this is when we typically revert to the obituaries, for which we have 2 today. The first being that of Fred N. Bowman, B-O-W-M-A-N, of West Falmouth. Here it is. Fred N. Bowman, age 92, of West Falmouth, passed away on Monday, the 22nd of April, at home with his family. Born on August 4th, of 1931 in New Bedford, he shared his birthday with his only sibling, his older sister, Virginia. Fred graduated from Lawrence High School in 1949. He participated in many school activities and was captain of the baseball team and also participated in football and track. For the class of 1949, he was the president of the student council, as his classmates voted him the most industrious, the best dressed, and the most likely to succeed, along with being the smartest. How about that? He attended college briefly and ultimately left to work as a carpenter in the family business. He married in August of 1952 to Laura Lynch of Belmont and West Falmouth. Drafted into the Army in September of 52 during the Korean War and served at Fort Belvoir, Virginia for 2 years. Fred returned to work as a carpenter after his service, carrying on family tradition of building and remodeling homes. He took great pride in the quality of his work. He was an avid Civil War buff, often visiting historical sites and reenacting battles to his family. Fred is survived by his children and many grandchildren. A memorial service will be held at a later date. For online guest book visit chapmanfuneralhome.com. All right, friends, that was the obituary of Fred Bowman, age 92, who passed away on April 22nd of West Falmouth. The next obituary is that of Peter Jacobson, dateline Mashpee. Peter L. Jacobson, Jr., age 62 of Mashpee, passed away peacefully at Brigham and Women's Hospital on April 25th. He was the beloved husband of Cheryl Jacobson and the son of Elsie and the late Peter Jacobson, Sr. Peter graduated from Falmouth High School, and he owned and operated Jacobson Plumbing and Heating in Mashpee for over 40 years. Peter was an avid outdoorsman. He enjoyed fishing, hunting, boating, and clamming. He was a member of the Falmouth Rod and Gun Club and attended many events such as Ducks Unlimited and Turkey Federation fundraisers. He also spending time with his family. He was a loving husband and brother and will be dearly missed by all who loved him. Peter is survived by his wife Cheryl, mother Elsie, and 3 siblings. A visitation will be held on the 4th of May at Chapman Funeral Home and Cremation, 74 Algonquin Avenue, which is Route 151 in Mashpee. That is Saturday, May 4th, from 9 to 11 a.m. with a funeral service to follow at St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Osterville at 12 noon. Burial will be private. In lieu of flowers, donations may be made to Peter's honor to support Dr. Arvind Ravi's research at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. All right, that is the obituary of Peter L. Jacobson of Mashpee. Moving now to the lighter side of the paper, the Ask Carolyn column. And as most of you know who follow us, people from out there in the readership write into Carolyn with their issues or problems, seeking her advice, and she responds in these articles. So this first headline leads us into the letter. It says, her family left all the kitchen work to her, so she went on strike. Here's the letter. Dear Carolyn, I've been simmering in rage and frustration at my family for 2 years and have not yet come up with a better solution, so I've gone on kitchen strike. I live with my husband, our preteen child, and my mother-in-law, who popped in for a weekend during COVID and simply never left. My husband and I both work demanding jobs, but he returned to the office a while ago, and I'm still teleworking from home. So at our house, no one ever attempts to deal with anything in the kitchen, not the cooking, the cleaning, maintenance, nothing, except me, of course. I've tried assigning dinner days to my husband. He simply ignores them or, quote, forgets. My mother-in-law is old-fashioned and doesn't believe her son should do any kitchen stuff anyhow, but also has no interest in helping out herself. Can't remember how to turn on your oven, she often says. These are otherwise thoughtful, loving relatives, my very favorite people. The message I'm receiving is just that under no circumstances will they take any of the kitchen work off my plate. So I've stopped doing any work at all in the kitchen. I feel like a petulant child, and I don't know how to work my way back out of this strike now that it's begun. So please help me. Signed, On Strike. Go, you. If it's totally unacceptable that two adults in the household have dumped all this work on a third, it's totally acceptable for you to quit. This is what's coming from Carolyn. So, who feeds the child and teaches about shared work and respect? And when and where draw the lines? What else is happening in the wide world of chores there? Is your mother-in-law and is your husband assuming any other chores? Absent these details, I'll throw out a quote, comeback plan. It's dinner days, but with enforcement teeth. Here's what you should do. Assign 2 nights per adult and 1 for the preteen. Dinners can be cooking, reheating, sandwiching for the adults, or ordering out. Taking responsibility for your nights is required to partake in others, meaning I prepare my 2 dinners somehow, or else I don't get to join the family dinners on other nights. If someone refuses, then they're out of the rotation, and each one in the rotation adds nights. The key is that non-participants get nothing. They're on their own. No more covering for people who don't pitch in. If the husband and or squatter mother-in-law refuse, then you and preteen have your own dinner system as opters. Outfend for themselves. Not a minor point. If someone had come for the weekend and then never left without asking first, then I'd have rage-struck years ago. So, 1, you may be a saint. 2, you may need some hard therapeutic work on saying no much sooner to these thoughtful people. Well, there you have it. Sounds like her being on strike has gotten some helpful advice to Carolyn, and it also appears that at first, if this new plan is implemented, there may be some people going without dinner, at least dinner prepared for them by someone else. Interesting dilemmas faced by people around the country. All right, that's it, the Dear Carolyn column. Moving on. All right, friends, how about we take a look at the lottery at this point? The big ones, the Mega Millions and the Powerballs, their jackpots have reached significant dollars, with Mega Millions reaching a jackpot currently of $257 million. There will be a drawing tonight in the Mega Millions. Powerball will be drawn tomorrow, and that jackpot is up to $178 million. As most of you know, tickets are $2 apiece. All right, let's take a look at some of the results in the most recent numbers games and lottery games as well. For the numbers game, yesterday, April 29th, the midday drawing had these numbers: 9766. Yesterday, midday numbers 9766. Mass cash for yesterday, here are those numbers: 2, 6, 13, 24, and 26. Again, mass cash numbers were 2, 6, 13, 24, and 26, drawn yesterday. The Powerball numbers going back to yesterday again were these: 11, 38, 47, 67, 69, with a Powerball of 14. Again, Powerball yesterday: 11, 38, 47, 67, 69, and 14. Moving to Mega Millions, the most recent drawing was last Friday. Here are those numbers: 15, 23, 53, 57, and 61, with a Mega Ball of 9. Again, Mega Millions: 15, 23, 53, 57, 61, and a Mega Ball of 9. The Mega Bucks drawing, again held yesterday. Here are those 6 numbers: 2, 6, 16, 19, 20, 27. 2, 6, 16, 19, 20, and 27 for Mega Bucks. Lucky for life, again yesterday: 12, 14, 16, 25, 46, and a Lucky for Life ball of 16. 12, 14, 16, 25, 46, with a Lucky for Life ball of 16. That's it for the lottery results. And for those of you who continue to play, I say to all of you out there, good luck, players. Here's an article that is found later in the paper today, and it may have some relevance to many of us. It says, visiting your loved one in a nursing home as the title of the article, and it's by the USA Today Network, and here it is. Many caregivers have loved ones, family, or friends in nursing homes. Some people avoid visiting because they may feel uncomfortable about how to visit and may thus avoid visiting at all. Sometimes, due to medical conditions such as a stroke or dementia, people you would visit become more withdrawn, less engaged, or even aphasic. I recently visited a friend who was aphasic. I knew how to handle the visit with some background knowledge. Visiting in the afternoon is usually best. You can ask the staff, and if needed, put the call light on to ask if there are any special considerations or limitations to which you must adhere to. I often introduce myself and say, quote, I wanted to visit with you, and end quote, state that you understand their limitations. Speak about the last time you saw each other. Share what you've planned to do with this visit, and which is to spend time with them. Learn to have one-way conversations and feel comfortable doing it. You can be patient and not make any demands on the person you're talking to answer you. If they are tired, allow them to rest. I embrace the silence with them. I place my hand on their hand or arm, or hold hands even. They may squeeze your hand. I often gently squeeze their hand in response, saying for each squeeze, I love you. And they would squeeze in response back, I love you too. Observe if their lips are dry or thickened. If so, offer water at the bedside table through a sippy cup or spoon, or use oral swabs to moisten their mouths. Make sure their head is up in bed at 90 degrees if you assist them with a drink. If there is lip balm, assist them with using it. I often will bring a new lip balm with me that is scented and flavored as a gift for them. Assess how they react by body language, smiling, nodding, or trying to mouth words in response to you. I will do a hand or foot massage as long as it can be tolerated. I will tell stories of visiting the facility or of our shared interest and our friendships. Share a laugh and enjoy a memory. Listen to music or read to them a favorite author or subject, one chapter at a time. Being diagnosed with a disease and being in a nursing home is socially very isolating. Take time to visit someone in a nursing home. Be kind and honor them. So, for further tips on nursing home visiting sources, you can visit this website called Caregiver, that's lower caps, all one word, caregiver.com/articles/nursing-home-visits. Again, caregiver.com. Once you get there, you can find the rest of it, /articles/nursing-home-visits. All right, good advice, and I'm sure many of you out there do visit friends or relatives in nursing homes, and there you have a few suggestions as to how to make the most of your visit. Here's an interesting article about automobile safety. It says by 2029, 5 years from now, new vehicles in the United States must have emergency braking systems. This is from the Reuters News Network as a dateline of Washington, D.C., and here it is. Nearly all new passenger cars and trucks sold in the United States will be required to have automatic emergency braking systems by September of 2029. 2029, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said on Monday, saying that the rule will save at least 360 lives annually and prevent at least 24,000 injuries. The new rule comes as traffic deaths have spiked following the COVID-19 lockdowns. Congress directed the National Highway Safety Administration in the 2021 infrastructure law to create a rule to establish minimum performance standards for automatic emergency braking systems, which use sensors like cameras and radar to detect when a vehicle is close to crashing and then automatically applies brakes if the driver has not then done so. The rule requires that systems detect pedestrians in both daylight and at night. Some small volume manufacturers will be allowed to comply by September of 2030. The NHTSA in 2023 had proposed requiring nearly all vehicles to comply 3 years after the publication, but automakers are now being given 5 years. The NHTSA is requiring all cars and trucks to be able to stop and avoid striking vehicles in front of them up to 62 miles per hour. The rule requires the system to apply brakes automatically up to 90 miles per hour when collision with a lead vehicle is imminent and up to 45 miles per hour when a pedestrian is detected. U.S. traffic deaths fell by 3.6% in 2023, the second straight yearly decline, but they remained significantly above pre-pandemic levels. The fatality rate in 2023 was higher than any pre-pandemic year since 2008. In 2022, the number of pedestrians killed rose to 0.7%. That is, 7,522 persons were struck and killed, the most since 1981. In 2016, 20 automakers voluntarily agreed to make automatic emergency braking system standard on nearly all U.S. vehicles by 2022. In December of 2023, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety said all 20 automakers had equipped at least 95% of their vehicles with the automatic emergency braking system. All right, very interesting news on the digital car front. Okay, let's move. Turning for a moment to sports, let's take a look at the Boston Bruins. A very good team who are favored to get quite far in the Stanley Cup playoffs, if not win it. So they're currently playing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and this article says, once again, the Bruins look to eliminate the Leafs. Here's the article. New year, different result. The Boston Bruins will try to close out the Atlantic Division rival Toronto Maple Leafs on home ice in Game 5 of their Eastern Conference first-round playoff series Tuesday. Just a year ago, Boston held the same 3-1 first-round series lead before its President's Trophy-winning campaign came to an end in overtime of the seventh game against the Florida Panthers. Prior to last year, the Bruins had lost just 2 of 23 all-time series when leading 3-1 in the best-of-7 series. You always talk about how hard it is. We've got to match their desperation, said Coach Jim Montgomery of his Bruins, mentally entering the potential clincher. We talked about the urgency with the group this year, about how we need to get better. I think the experience of last year helps us this year, but we haven't talked about it. The Bruins pushed Toronto to the brink of elimination with a 3-1 road win on Saturday. Captain Brad Marchand has scored the deciding goal in back-to-back games, giving him 8 playoff points, tied for second most in the NHL, entering Monday. The closing out game is always the toughest, Charlie Coyle said. You know their backs are against the wall and they're going to give it everything they can. We're expecting their best game, and that's something we want to be ready for. Right back at it. We want to show them our best. Boston holds a 14-7 scoring advantage through 4 series games, limiting Toronto stars Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and John Tavares to just 1 goal each. Trading chances with the likes of Marchand and high-scoring winger David Pasternak? Well, it's not how Leafs coach Sheldon Keefe wanted the series to go. This is not a very good recipe, Keefe said. If it's a recipe we went with at times during the regular season, and it didn't work out very well for us. Despite the goal numbers, defenseman Morgan Riley and the Leafs feel they've been in all of the games played so far. Our team's in a good spot, Riley said Saturday. We feel like we're playing hard. We're getting our chances. It's just not going in the net. There's areas we can clean up. While Toronto did welcome back winger William Nylander, who had an undisclosed injury for Game 4, its ideal recipe also certainly doesn't include missing Matthews, who was the league's goal-scoring leader with 69 in the regular season. Matthews did not finish Game 4 due to an undisclosed, still lingering illness before not skating again Monday, before the team flew to Boston on what was termed another maintenance day. His status is yet to be determined, Coach Keefe said. Of course, we're hopeful he is available and feeling good and being back to being himself. So tonight, the Bruins play again on ice and look to eliminate the Toronto Chiefs, and if so, they will have dominated the series 4-1. Well, if you're interested in baseball and the Red Sox earlier this season, let's take a look at the standings in Major League Baseball at this point. In the Central Division, the mighty Cleveland, hard to say Guardians versus Indians, but the mighty Cleveland team is leading the Central Division with a record of 19-9, followed by Detroit at 16-12. In the Eastern Division, where the Red Sox play, Baltimore and the Yankees are favored, but Baltimore currently leads the division with a record of 18-10, followed closely by the Yankees, who are statistically tied for the division lead at 19-11. In the Western Division, well, Boston, going back to the East, is in third place behind Baltimore and the Yankees, with a record better than anticipated for beginning the season at 16 wins, 13 losses, and they are 2.5 games behind league-leading Baltimore and the New York Yankees. In the West, Seattle leads that division with a record of 16-13, followed by Texas. In the National League, Atlanta leads the East Division with a record of 19-8. The Central Division is led by Chicago, with the Cubs, that is, with a record of 18-11, and the Dodgers lead the Western Division with a record of 19-12. Well, friends, as you know, there are many protests regarding the Israeli-Hamas situation in the Middle East, and protests going along at many college campuses along the country, which have had those protesters at those situations been the focus of much news. And here's a final article for you today coming on page 1, and it says, talks failed to end the protest at Columbia University. It's a USA Today article, and it has a dateline of New York City. Here it is. Columbia University ordered pro-Palestinian protesters to disband their encampment Monday, of tents, that is, after school representatives and student organizers failed to negotiate a resolution of the standoff that began almost 2 weeks ago and fueled similar protests on campuses across the nation. A small group of academic leaders has been in constructive dialogue with student organizers to find a path that would result in the dismantling of the encampment, so said school president Manoush Shafiq in a statement made Monday. Regretfully, we were not able to come to an agreement, she said. The school issued a notice to the protesters asking them to please promptly gather your belongings and leave the encampment by 2 p.m. If they identify themselves to a university official and sign an agreement to abide by all university policies, they will be eligible to complete the semester in good standing and will not then be placed on suspension, the notice advised. John Ben Menachem, one of the main student organizers, posted on social media platform X that members of the Gaza Solidarity Encampment face, quote, mass evictions and interim suspensions, end quote, if they don't leave the encampment. The Columbia Students for Justice in Palestine posted, quote, do not sign anything with the administration. Show up at noon to protect the encampment, end quote. Students vowing not to leave the encampment began gathering at midday for a rally ahead of the university's 2 p.m. deadline. No business as usual, they chanted from the encampment. There's only one solution, someone yelled, Intifada revolution. The protesters demand that the school halt investments with companies profiting from the Israeli war in Gaza, and they want amnesty for students and faculty involved in the various protests. President Shafiq said the university offered to convene a faculty committee to address academic freedom, to create an expedited timeline for reviewing the socially responsible investing, and to invest in health and education in Gaza. She noted that external factors had contributed to creating a hostile environment that drove some Jewish students and others to leave the camp. Shafiq said the school will not divest from Israeli companies and will proceed with its graduation ceremony set for May 15. College campus protests ramped up after rallies elsewhere in the United States against the civilian toll in Gaza, where more than 34,000 people have died since the Israeli invasion in response to the Hamas-led attack of October 7th that killed almost 1,200 people in Israel. U.S. students are not alone in protesting the war in Gaza. While students at the University of Georgia set up a Gaza Solidarity Encampment on Monday morning, demonstrators at Paris's Sorbonne University were chanting Free Palestine at the university's gates as some students set up tents in the courtyard there. Protesters opposed to Israel's military action in Gaza say they want their various schools to stop funneling endowment money to Israeli companies and to other businesses, such as weapons manufacturers, that profit from the war in Gaza. In addition, protesters are calling for a ceasefire, and student governments at some colleges have passed resolutions in recent weeks for an end to academic partnerships with Israel. More recently, amnesty for students and professors involved in the protests has become an issue. Protesters want protections amid threats of disciplinary action and termination for those participating in demonstrations that violate campus policy or local laws. All right, there you have it, friends. A look at some of the protestations at campuses across the country, which seem only to be multiplying, not only in numbers, but in their various intensities. All right, friends, there you have it, a look at overall articles from today's final day of April, April 30th, Cape Cod Times. This is Doug Fagan, your volunteer reader, signing off for you and thanking you for the privilege of being able to read to you, and I look forward to reading to you again next Tuesday, and we'll be in the month of May by then. Enjoy your day and enjoy your week. Stay healthy, be kind to others, enjoy your life. So long, friends.